On the 18th of October 1999, 25 years ago today, the third episode of Walking with Dinosaurs, Cruel Sea, released. Today, I'll be breaking it down once again. This episode is set 149 million years ago in Oxford, only 3 million years after the previous episode. It is based on the Oxford Clay Formation, a formation that is believed to have been laid down from 166 to 160 million years ago, meaning it was laid down at least 10 million years before the episode setting, but the environment is believed to have been accurate to this formation. A better alternative for the location would be the Kimmeridge Clay, which was laid down from around 150 to about 140 million years ago. It featured similar creatures in a similar environment. The episode was filmed in New Caledonia for the forests and some of the beaches, and the Bahamas for the underwater segments and some of the islands. And the infamous opening scene is well known to have been based on orcas attacking seals. Eustreptospondylus was a Eustreptospondyline megalosaurid from the late Jurassic, 163 to 154 million years ago, of southern England, meaning it lived in the right place to appear, but went extinct about 5 million years before the episode's setting. The Eustreptospondylus is slightly undersized, and its design is incredibly wrong, as despite it being a megalosaur, it uses a modified version of the Allosaurus model, so its snout should be longer, thinner, and much more rounded. It should also have lips. It is also shrink-wrapped and should not be able to pronate its arms. Its colour scheme is quite drab and brown, thematically showing that dinosaurs are less important within the narrative than the more interestingly patterned aquatic reptiles, similar to the coelophysis in New Blood, with dinosaurs starting out being eaten and going on to become more prevalent and even eating one of the main creatures. An alternative to Eustreptospondylus that is known from the Kimmeridge Clay could be the larger megalosaur, Torvosaurus, or interestingly, Duratyrant, an early tyrannosauroid. Cryptoclydus was a cryptoclydid cryptoclydian from the late Jurassic, 166 to 160 million years ago, of France, England, and Cuba, meaning it lived in the right place to appear, but went extinct about 11 million years before the episode's setting. It is incredibly unlikely that any plesiosaurs beyond the very most basal could go on land, and if they could, they would not have been able to properly pick up external stimuli, such as hearing or sight. It is also very unlikely that they would be able to move on land, as their flippers were not flexible enough to move them on land, and their pelvis and clavicle was also much weaker for land locomotion due to being adapted for swimming. This idea of them going on land was based on the proposition that the plastrons, or belly ribs, were able to maintain the structure of the internal organs from being crushed by the lack of pressure while on land. Cryptoclydus would also have had some form of tail fluke in reality. It is stated to have weighed 8 tons, but in reality it is believed to have weighed a maximum of 1 ton. The Cryptoclydus' head and neck are too wide, and the neck is slightly too short. The footage of the Cryptoclydus hunting Leptolepis uses edited stock footage of penguins and tuna hunting herring. There are 2 Cryptoclydids known from the Kimmeridge Clay that could act as substitutes, Colymbosaurus and Chimerosaurus. Both are around the same size as the Walking with Dinosaurs Cryptoclydus, but I personally would choose Colymbosaurus, as Chimerosaurus already got its time in the sun in Planet Dinosaur. Plus, we have more complete remains of Colymbosaurus. Ammonites are featured in the episode, identified in external media as Perisphinctes, which is a perisphinctid ammonitian from the mid to late Jurassic, about 165 to about 145 million years ago, of Antarctica, Argentina, Chile, Cuba, Egypt, Ethiopia, France, Germany, Hungary, India, Iran, Italy, Japan, Madagascar, Poland, Portugal, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Spain, Switzerland, the UK, and Yemen, meaning it lived in the right place and time to appear. The Parasphinctes is oversized. In reality, it was very small, having a very maximum diameter of around 10 centimeters. Other than this, it is incredibly accurate. Jellyfish appear. There are no jellyfish known from either the Oxford clay or the Kimmeridge clay. In the relatively close Solnhofen Formation, laid down from around 152 to 150 million years ago, of Germany, there is a fossil jellyfish, Rhizostomites lithographicus, meaning it lived at around the right time and quite close by. It appears to be live-acted by a moon jellyfish, and although they both belong to the same class, Cyphozoa, Rhizostomites is a very basal member of this class, whereas the moon jellyfish is quite derived. Fish appear in the episode. Live acted by herrings. It's externally confirmed that these are Leptolepis, which was a leptolepid stem teleost from the early to mid-Jurassic, approximately 190 to approximately 163 million years ago, from Germany, Luxembourg, France, England, Italy, Algeria, Tunisia, and Morocco, meaning it lived in the right place to appear, but went extinct approximately 10 to 15 million years before the episode's setting. There is an indeterminate leptolepid known from the Kimmeridge clay. Ophthalmosaurus was an ophthalmosaurine barochromian from the mid to late Jurassic, 165 to 157 million years ago of Europe and possibly North America, meaning it lived in the right place to appear. Although you would think it went extinct before the episode's setting, I've withheld some vital information. More recent discoveries have found that Ophthalmosaurus may have existed into the earliest Cretaceous, about 145 million years ago. If this is true, then it was around to bear in this episode. There is some fossil evidence that some ichthyosaurs were completely black, but this definitely didn't apply to all ichthyosaurs, and it is likely that some were countershaded, as depicted in this episode. It is stated that Ophthalmosaurus had toothless snouts, but both the practical and CGI models have tiny teeth, which are accurate to the real animal. We have fossils of ichthyosaurs giving live birth, so this is accurate, and there is evidence of ichthyosaurs congregating to give birth in shallower waters. Interestingly enough, the adult Ophthalmosaurus do not appear very often in the episode, with most scenes featuring their young. There are possible Ophthalmosaurus remains known from the Kimmeridge clay. If you don't believe that Ophthalmosaurus lasted later than is definitively known, an alternative that is conclusively known from the Kimmeridge clay are the Ophthalmosaurines Thalassodraco and Nanopterygius, but Nanopterygius is closer in size to Ophthalmosaurus, making it a better alternative. Hybodus appears. Hybodus was a hybodont Eustylachian from the early Jurassic of parts of Europe. Not much is known of Hybodus, as until recently it was a wastebasket taxon, containing almost 70 species over its lifetime as a taxon, and was thought to have lasted from the entire Mesozoic as well as through in the late Permian. As we cannot know which Hybodontiform appears in this series, it is very unlikely that it was Hybodus, which lived in the early, not the late Jurassic. It is referred to as a shark, but it is not, belonging to an order of more basal cartilaginous fish. There are two hybodonts known from the Kimmeridge clay, an indeterminate hybodont, formerly Hybodus itself, and Dernonovarioidus. Liopleurodon was a Thalassophonian pliosaurid from the mid to late Jurassic, 165 to 155 million years ago, of Europe, meaning it lived in the right place, went extinct approximately 6 million years before the episode setting. The Liopleurodon is massively oversized, being said to be 25 meters long, when its largest estimated in reality is 10 meters, but even this is a stretch, as most realistic estimates give a maximum of 7 meters long. This exaggerated size was used because of fragmentary remains then assigned to Liopleurodon that were estimated to have given it a length of approximately 20 meters, and this was increased by 5 meters, as it was incredibly unlikely that these remains would have belonged to the largest individual of the genus. These remains have been reassigned as a indeterminate pliosaur now, which has been scaled down to approximately 15 meters length maximum. Plesiosaurs like Liopleurodon would have had tail flukes, but it is believed that these would have varied between different groups of plesiosaurs. The coloration of the Walker Dinosaurs Liopleurodon is incredibly iconic, and reused for many Liopleurodon designs, as well as just pliosaurs in general across pop culture. The Liopleurodon is slightly shrink-wrapped, and its teeth should not be tusk-like and protruding, rather sticking straight down. A substitute from the Kimmeridge clay for Liopleurodon would be Pliosaurus, which, although larger than Liopleurodon, only reached a maximum length of about 9 meters in the larger species, Pliosaurus funki, which isn't even known from the Kimmeridge clay. Rhamphorhynchus was a rhamphorhynchine breviquartosian from the late Jurassic, 150 to 148 million years ago, of Germany, as well as possibly from Portugal, England, Tanzania and Spain, meaning it lived in the right time and most likely the right place to appear. It is shown skim feeding, something that it could never do in reality, as its snout anatomy was completely wrong for this, not having a longer bottom jaw or the powerful muscles needed to do this. In fact, it would have hunted by diving into the water to catch fish. The toothy projections on the end of its snout would have been covered by skin. More recent studies have found that Rhamphorhynchus was most likely nocturnal. Rhamphorhynchus would have had a thicker neck. Its wings should also fold backwards rather than to the sides, and its wingtips should likely be more rounded. It should also have pycno fibers, and its tail fin should be smaller on top and larger on the bottom, rather than completely equal sized on both. A sea turtle corpse appears. Although true sea turtles, Chelonoidea, did not evolve until the early Cretaceous, there were some unrelated oceanic turtles known from the Jurassic. There are 6 genera of thalassocalidian sea turtles, known from the Kimmeridge clay, Craspidiocheles, Acolonia, Pelobatocheles, Plesiocheles, Thalassamies, and Tropidemes, and as we only see a corpse in limited detail, it cannot be determined as any one of these in particular. Bark beetles, or scolotines, appear. Scolotiny only dates back to the early Cretaceous, and as such would not have evolved at the time of this episode. There are no beetles of any kind known from either of the Kimmeridge or Oxford clay. Some squids appear. They are identified externally as Cylindroteuthids, a cylindroteuthed belemnite, which is a different group of cephalopods, and Cylindroteuthis is known from the early Jurassic to early Cretaceous of Asia, Europe, North America and New Zealand, meaning it lived in the right place and time to appear. Although Cylindroteuthis is known from the right place and time, it is not known from either the Kimmeridge or Oxford clay, but a different belemnite, Belemniteuthis, is known from the Kimmeridge clay. Mesolemulus, identified simply as a horseshoe crab, appears. Mesolemulus was a lemurid horseshoe crab, Xiphosuran, from the mid-Triassic to late Cretaceous of Germany, England, Spain, Siberia and Morocco, meaning it lived in the right place and time to appear. It is live-acted by modern horseshoe crabs, which makes sense as Mesolemulus was originally named as an extinct species of the modern genus Lemulus. Their behavior of laying eggs on the high tide is accurate to their modern relatives. There are no horseshoe crabs known from the Oxford or Kimmeridge clays. The Bahamian island, where the final scenes were filmed, was covered with incredibly venomous sea snakes. Through my secret methods, I have given the episode an accuracy rating of 77.1%. If you've enjoyed this video, leave a like and tune in next week for my breakdown of Giant of the Skies, and I guess goodbye.